whatever units we have left to engage with the enemy. Oh god, that was disgusting. Yo, what is up, you sexy ass motherfuckers? You know who's back, and we're here with another Rome 2 Total War Siege battle. This one was recorded quite some time ago, but it was definitely a really interesting siege battle, unlike any other siege battle that I've seen prior. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened, a lot of weird tactics, some cool sally outs, some really cool plays by both sides. And just overall, just a very interesting battle. So overall, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Make sure you guys grab something to eat, something to drink, go jerk off a quick one, go call your grandmother and let her know that you love her, preferably not while you're jerking off a quick one. Do whatever you guys gotta do, and enjoy the battle. So before I actually start the battle here, I just kind of want to go over the armies, not necessarily the comps in of itself. We can kind of look at that while we're in the battle, but we got Rome here. We got Macedon, we got Saba, and then we have yours truly, the sexiest motherfucker that you guys have ever seen in your entire life, Bactria. So Saba over here, he did bring, you know, an archer unit, some slingers, some caravan guard, you know, a little bit of ranged and infantry to be able to help me hold the inside of the walls, but primarily, as you can see here, he did bring a lot of like really shitty spears and stuff too, but he is going to sallying out with some armored camel spearmen, royal camel archers, and I think, did he have cataphracts? It's been, like I said, it's been so long since I've seen this, but yeah, just a lot of camel spears and archers and stuff like that. So it's gonna be really interesting. But yeah, no, honestly, guys, that's pretty much it. As for the army comps, I'll kind of go over that while the battle's starting, but let's go ahead and begin. So as far as the army comps go, we have Macedon over here pushing up his equipment with some militia hoplites, thorax swords, shield bearers, and thorax pikes, which kind of surprised me a little bit, pushing up with thorax pikemen. He's got 3 units of mercenary Cretan archers and 1 unit of regular archers, as well as some more thorax pikemen and militia hoplites in the back. So just coming in heavy with those militia hoplites, bringing in another unit, a general unit of companion cavalry, which could definitely do some damage to our cav. I'm going to go ahead and sally out kind of prematurely here, so that way they think that this is the only sally out. And give Saba kind of a little bit of a reprieve from the enemy. So I'm going to go ahead and sally out and just kind of make the enemies think that it's just my 2 units of citizen cav. Rome over here bringing the Evocati Rome army composition, the Evocati cohort, Hastati, a little bit of legionary cohort, and Socii Hastati, so just like upgraded Hastati, as well as 3 units of auxiliary Syrian archers, and of course Legatus, his general. Rome is going to be pushing over on the side here with a couple of units of legionary cohort, as well as helping to push in the middle here with a couple of Socii Hastati units. I actually don't even remember what I brought. It's been so long since I've seen this battle. I brought a couple of units of Thero spears, some Bactrian hillmen. I brought thorax swordsmen, about 4 units of those, a couple of thorax pikes, and a unit of elite Persian archers with 3 units of mercenary Syrian archers, as well as a Bactrian royal guard general. And of course my 2 units of citizen cavalry. Last but certainly not least, we have Saba bringing his more elite spears over here, caravan guard, as well as a unit of slingers, 2 units of slingers, 2 units of slingers, and then what looks like 2 units of royal camel archers and 4 units of armored camel spearmen, with his general unit being a Marib camel cataphract unit and a couple of Sabian camel cataphracts. I was about to say, I know he brought more than just, you know, camel spears, and then a couple of desert spearmen and shitty desert levy. But yeah, we have Macedon kind of pushing over on the walls here, as well as Rome, just kind of pushing in. This settlement kind of gives us a little bit of an advantage with the walls, especially with tortoises, because there's really not too many places you can attack the walls here, because a lot of the walls are kind of protected by these, oh, why can't I remember what these are called? These outside buildings, we'll just call them that for now. So a lot of the walls are kind of defended by these outside buildings, so they're kind of only able to push in their tortoises on specific portions of the walls. So we're just going to kind of try to hold these strategic choke points. This area right here, this area right here, and then this street right over here. As well, you know, Rome is pushing in with a couple of legionary cohort, but nothing too fancy. This shouldn't be too difficult to take out. As long as Rome doesn't send in some reinforcements, we should be okay. I do have my citizen cab kind of pushing up here. Just trying to distract the enemies a little bit, trying to get to those archers and do as much damage as possible. At this point in time, Saba did decide to go ahead and sally out, so he's moving out everything that he has. All of his desert spearmen, levies, and all of his armored camel spears, cataphracts, and mounted archers. I got my cab, one unit of cab here. I'm going to try to kind of sneak around the enemy. And see if I can hit some of these troops from the rear and or get a couple of archer units, maybe even their artillery, while they're distracted. Macedon doing a really good move here, trying to use his general to be able to kind of make sure my cab can't do anything. Also trying to use these militia hoplites, but I had the most perfect gap right here, and I was able to charge my cavalry through and hit these mercenary Cretan archers, so I'm just going to try to push through and get as many kills on these archers as I possibly can. I'm not doing any damage to these archers right now because I don't have them engaged. That's okay. I'm just going to push through and see if I can get some of those archers that are further out and save that unit of cavalry. I did use my other unit of citizen cavalry to be able to try to distract this avocado cohort. I actually just kind of kept them out there and forgot about them. But, you know, using that excuse of them just trying to distract the cohort while I'm getting the archers. But yeah, my one cab here is here just doing as much damage to these archers as possible. I'm just kind of running through, trying to make sure that I don't get too caught by this infantry, these militia hoplites, and just do as much damage to these archers as I possibly can. Rome is beginning to push through or push into the city with his Socii Hastati. My ally over here has got his caravan guard just set up in square formation to try to hold as quickly as possible and hopefully allow these guys to wrap around just a little bit so that way he can get some good shots with these slingers. And so far Rome hasn't quite engaged me with these Bactrian hillmen yet. I think I had my Bactrian hillmen kind of throwing at some guys that were coming in, but they did kind of decide to go this way. And then, yeah, and then I do have my unit of Thera Spears just kind of throwing over the wall, trying to get some flanking fire on this Socii Hastati, because I want to make sure that that caravan guard lasts for as long as possible. Again, we have very, very small armies inside of the actual city, so we're really just trying to do as much damage outside of the city and try to keep the enemy distracted inside of the city for as long as possible. I got my unit of Thorax swordsmen coming in to be able to get some fire on. My hillmen doing a great job of taking out this legionary cohort, using my Thera spears to be able to do damage to these legionary cohort, as well as using javelin capabilities with the Bactrian hillmen in order to just melt these legionary cohort as quickly as possible. So ultimately a super cheap unit doing a fantastic job of taking out a more elite unit of the Roman Empire. Coming back over to the outside, my ally did send over a couple of units of cabs to be able to help me kill these archers. And we were able to successfully break one unit of archers and do a little bit more damage to his other units of archers. We got one that's at 41, we got one that's at 82, and one that's at 79, but we weren't able to fully kind of break them. And so one of my cavalry units did fully break from the battlefield, but I still have this cavalry unit at the back, which the enemy can't see. So right now my ally's just doing a good job of being able to kind of corner the enemy here and distract him to make sure that they're not just kind of doing a full push into the city and giving our smaller armies a chance to be able to focus down their individual units as they push in. My ally also moved up a unit of slingers to be able to try and support any cavalry engagements that we have out here. So just kind of doing what he can to get the flanks of these militia hoplites and attack these thorax pikes. Again, just trying to do as much damage to their spear units as he possibly can to make it easier for our cavalry to be able to get in and really do some damage. Rome finally pushing up his army from this little hill over here, trying to move towards the choke points to kind of send in the second wave and do what he can to break my units. He is starting to break me over here. Of course, I did a great job of doing a lot of damage to his legionary cohort, but they are Bactrian hillmen. They're not going to be the greatest unit in the world. So I do have my unit of Thera spears here holding the line against this legionary cohort. I got a couple units of thorax swords as well as a couple units of mercenary Syrian archers, or I'm sorry, one unit of mercenary Syrian archers and one unit of elite Persian archers over here to be able to support that Thera spears, because I really don't want them to be able to push through this choke point. We want to try to hold them as close to the walls for as long as possible, so that way we might be able to you know, do as much damage with our cavalry as possible. Mastodon's really struggling a little bit here, just trying to do whatever we can in order to make sure that our cavalry doesn't have an opportunity to be able to get in there and do even more damage. And then Rome really just kind of putting all of the pressure on us and just trying to do as much damage as he can. Using those archers to be able to just kind of fully break my Bactrian Hillmen, so that way if they have any Javi capabilities, they won't be able to use it again. But that's okay. I'm just going to let them shoot at them. They are a weaker unit. They're meant to be cannon fodder, so ultimately whether they get kills or not, it's much better for them to be able to focus their fire on a super cheap unit than on my thorax swords or my thero spears. I do have a lot of reinforcements going over this way to be able to try and support against this legionary cohort. I just want to make sure that I crush the legionary cohort and have the additional reinforcements nearby, just in case Rome decides to do another push inside of that gap here. Of course, he did use 2 tortoises to be able to try and open up that gap, so I would hope that he would utilize that gap and push on us from multiple locations. I still got a unit of thorax swords and a unit of thero spears. And then a couple of archers over here, so we should be able to hold here for a decent amount of time. Plus my ally does still have caravan guard as well. My ally over here trying to use his royal camel archers just to be able to harass the enemy and do as much damage as possible, as well as just kind of spreading out his cavalry a little bit just to be able to do as much damage as humanly possible against both the Roman Empire and Macedon. Rome's kind of turning his archers around, this auxiliary Syrian archers, to be able to fight against that cavalry. And just starting to be able to push some of these Hastati units in to be able to try and push through our lines and just make a foothold within the walls and do as much damage as possible. My ally just trying to set up his lines, his levy swords and his desert spearmen to be able to try and do as much damage as possible, or at least just try to kind of distract the enemy and make it so that way it makes it harder for them to push into the city without worrying about a flank. Again, if you guys are looking at the balanced power down at the bottom left-hand corner, it's not looking too great for us. I mean, it's not looking terrible, but we definitely have a slight disadvantage. My ally seen that the Romans had some archers that were kind of hanging out and not really doing anything and not really having too much protecting them. He did charge out a unit of armored camel spears to try and do as much damage to these auxiliary Syrian archers, hopefully take them out. Which was very beautiful, using the enemy's breach points against them, doing a bunch of damage to these archers before the enemy could really get any Javi tosses or do any damage against his units. Rome is starting to break through my Bactrian Hillmen. My Bactrian are starting to break, but my ally is going to go ahead and use that cav unit that he used to try and deal damage to those archers to be able to distract those Evocati cohorts and do damage to the flanks. He's going to try and see if he can circle around to this breach point over here and go outside of the walls to hopefully harass the enemy archers again and do as much damage as possible. And Rome still had pretty much Control A and double right click on our armored camel spears, because it was really starting to piss them off. They were really just trying to do whatever he could to focus down those camel spears. But my ally doing, again, a fantastic job of just circling around the enemy and really just doing as much damage as possible against these archers. And he's just going to go ahead and leave that cavalry unit in. It's just kind of a sacrificial unit to be able to do as much damage as possible. Or, okay, I was wrong. He's going to try to get that cavalry out of there. So that way maybe he can use it to focus down another unit. Maybe this big old clump of archers for Macedon as well. My ally slowly but surely moving up his desert spears and his desert levy to be able to kind of harass Macedon and the Romans. They are very scared of the cavalry. My ally's got his cavalry kind of circling around here and just trying to do damage. It just kind of has various blotches of cavalry throughout the map. So they don't want to, start falling back in fear that they're going to get rear charged by our cavalry and lose their archers. We did successfully kill the enemy legionnaires right here. They did do a heavy amount of damage to our Thero spears, but that's okay. Thero spears are really good for their Javi capability, but they're not terribly great for their melee capability in of itself. So the fact that we were able to take out two legionary cohorts with 2 units of Bactrian Hillmen and a unit of Thero spears is just fantastic. Definitely got our money's worth out of it. Plus, we've still got a decent amount of troops, 2 units of thorax pikemen, as well as a unit of thorax swords and some depleted units of Bactrian Hillmen and Thero spears here to be able to hold this line. Moving back over to this breach point, I got my unit of Thero spears holding against an Evocati 2 units of Avocado cohort. Holy smokes, Rome. My ally starting to lose against this caravan guard. I saw that my ally was starting to lose against them, so I tried to fall back or push in my thorax swords. So that way they can, you know, keep that breach point blocked or keep that road blocked so that way the enemy couldn't get inside, because that would suck. I got another unit of thorax swords kind of moving around the flank here to be able to get over to this Avocado cohort, because my Theros Spear definitely isn't going to be able to hold against Avocado cohort. Avocado cohort is a very, very powerful unit within the Roman Empire. Roman Empire's arsenal, so that's definitely something that we have to look out for. He is going to fall back, though, seeing that my ally is starting to push very, very closely with his Desert Levy and Desert Spearmen and all of his cavalry. So he's going to start to try to kind of fall back outside of the walls here and try to do whatever he can to be able to defend his archers and that of the Macedonian archers as well. He's also going to try to use his javelin capabilities, I'm assuming, to be able to weaken our units and to just do as much damage as possible, so that way he can break through this point and just flood through the city and take over our capture point. Because if they get past these roads, we're done. We don't have a chance. We have to hold these roads for as long as possible. So right now we're kind of at a little bit of a standstill. Saba just kind of hanging out here, not really wanting to make a full engagement because he knows he'll lose. He just has cheap spearmen and cheap swords, and the enemy definitely has them outnumbered. We really need the enemy to start sending more units in the walls and just keep losing more units to our small garrison within the actual walls and of itself. So the enemy just kind of trying to push around, trying to figure out exactly what to do, what strategies they should utilize. So right now, while the enemy's kind of distracted, I'm gonna go ahead and move my 2 units of thorax swords out and a couple of hillmen, because I want to try to spread out the enemy even more. Saba's got units here, we've got units here, distracting units here, so I figured I'd push out a small outside force to be able to try to do damage over to the units outside of here. Plus, I do have the cavalry support of a unit of armored camel spears, and my ally, using his other armored camel spears, is going to try and go ahead and get that general real quick to try and get rid of that morale. But the enemy seeing this is going to go ahead and just fall back and just try to get away from those camel spears. Rome, seeing that I was pushing out, decided to move a couple of units of Socii, Hastati, Legionary Cohort, regular Hastati, just kind of whatever he has left outside of the walls over to kind of deal with my thorax swords, but that's okay. Moving out to be able to try and give Saba more of an opportunity to actually engage the enemy and get as many kills as possible. So we are doing what we needed to do. We're sallying out and we're really trying to do some damage to the enemy. I did kind of miss that they had moved out like this, so I haven't charged in quite yet, but I finally look over and notice that Rome had sent out a bunch of units, and so I quickly sent in my Bactrian Hillmen to try and distract that unit of Socia Hastati and all the Roman units over there, so that way I could kind of fall back here and resituate my own lines. Inside of the actual city in of itself, I do have a unit of Thorax Swordsmen holding this little breach point against the Avocado cohort. They're doing a fantastic job holding against them, especially since they were already weakened from my Theros Spears. I still got 2 units of Thorax Pikemen and a couple of units of Archers, so we're still looking pretty. We're still sitting good. Rome did successfully get his 3 units of Syrian Archers, but like I said, we already did damage to them, so we're already doing good. Me and my ally are just doing whatever we can to be able to move our Archers into a good position and get that flanking fire on the enemy. Macedon is finally starting to get some units inside to be able to support his Roman ally, getting a unit of militia hoplites to be able to try and support that unit of Avocado cohort against my thorax swords. Again, the Avocado cohort's been fighting for a while. They're very tired. They've only got 46 guys left, 42, and yet they're still doing some good damage against my thorax swordsmen. They're just a very, very powerful unit. Roman units are just amazing. And because I was kind of micromanaging over here, I didn't really notice that the enemy was kind of focusing fire on my archers over here, so I did use a unit of archers over here, sadly, so hopefully that doesn't cost us the battle. Over here, I did have my small unit of Theros Spears trying to hold the flank here because Rome is attempting to flank me. But I do have my archers shooting at the backs of the Hastati that's attempting to flank me. And my ally is sending over a unit of armored camel spears to be able to try and get some flanking charges against the enemy and help me to break the enemy. Because again, we're just trying to do as much damage as we possibly can. and just trying to spread them out as much as possible. So that way the initial fight outside of the actual walls will be a lot easier for my ally. Because he's still got some very, very powerful cav units that haven't seen too much battle yet. So hopefully his cav will be able to win us the day. I still got my unit of depleted Thorax Swordsmen holding the line. They've got 79 kills, which isn't great for Thorax Swords. An expensive unit, and they can definitely do a lot better than that. But again, we're just trying to hold them back for as long as possible, make sure that they can't push inside of these streets, and just, you know, just distract them for as long as possible and weaken them for as much as we can. So way Sabbath can hopefully do some damage from the rear. Over here, we did successfully take out that flanking unit, but not before it did a ton of damage to my Thorax Swords. But we are starting to break through this Hastati, so hopefully we'll be able to break through the rest of the units over here, and be able to utilize whatever units we have left to engage with the enemy. Oh god, that was disgusting. Those Hastati just got absolutely crushed. Oh, watch them get melted. And I saw that their Socii Hastati were you know, had their flanks turned to try and engage with that cavalry, so I'm just kind of having all my archers focus fire on that, so that way I can hopefully give my Thorax Sword a chance to be able to do as much damage to this Roman infantry as I can. My ally Saba also sending over 2 units of Royal Camel Archers to be able to try and do as much damage to the legionary cohorts as he can. Again, Rome's infantry is extremely powerful, extremely armored, and does a lot of damage, so we have to try and do whatever we can to flank around, kill them with archer fire, just do whatever we can to be able to weaken the Roman army, because they're very, very powerful faction, and they hurt a lot. But yeah, we got our Thorax Swords fighting against the Hastati right now. Look at that beautiful fight. Just Hastati, a cheap unit, but a very powerful unit nonetheless, fighting against a more elite Thorax Swordsman and still doing very, very well. Moving back into the city, I saw that my unit of Thorax Swords was starting to... we're starting to get really weak here, so I wanted to move up a unit of Thorax Pikes up to the front line to be able to help out as much as possible. We were trying to use our archers to be able to take out as many of their archers as possible. We successfully sneakily took out a lot of their archers, so they just really didn't have any ammo. At least Rome didn't have any ammo to be able to take out our pikes, so I figured this was as good a time as any for me to be able to send in my pikes and do as much damage as possible. So I got a unit of Thorax Pikes just helping me to break through this Roman line, and another unit of Thorax Pikes for whenever my Thorax Swordsman finally breaks against this the might of the Roman Empire. Still fighting against this legionary cohort. We've got my unit of depleted Thorax Swords just doing whatever they can. I mean, even with all the flanking charges and flanking fire and everything else, they're really just doing a fantastic job of just taking out my infantry. I really didn't expect my infantry to, you know, take this much damage and to die this quickly, but yeah, no, Rome is definitely successfully breaking my Thorax Swords, and they successfully break it. So I just kind of try to move my archers back and just do whatever I can to be able to tie and take out these Macedonian archers, because I know that as long as they don't have ammo, then my Thorax Pikes can hold pretty much forever, especially in these smaller choke points. So I'm just trying to make sure that I can do as much damage to their archers as I can, so that way they can't utilize it to kill my pikes. Saba is kind of fell back behind this hill for a little bit, trying to kind of bring the enemy lines back. It didn't necessarily work exactly how we wanted it to. And so the enemy actually seeing an opportunity to be able to fall back into the city is actually going to utilize that opportunity and start to begin to trickle troops while still, of course, protecting their flank back into the city. But that's okay. We're still doing what we can to be able to take out these archers, so that way they can't fire on my pikemen. Again, as long as my pikemen are alive, as long as they can't get shot at by archers, then we have a really good chance of being able to win. I am going to go ahead and move up my Thorax Pikes to be able to try and take out these militia hoplites, so that way I can try and get as close to these legionary cohort as possible, because I don't want them to be able to get that Javi capability on my my pikemen. Because again, our pikes have to try and live for as long as possible, and if they're able to kill our pikes with Javis, then that's going to be hard. Seeing that the Roman general was outside of the walls and kind of exposed, we are going to go ahead and try to focus fire on the Roman general, just to be able to try to take him out and break the Roman morale, because if we can get rid of the Roman morale, then we have a pretty good chance of being able to break what remains of the Roman army. But as you can see, we've done a really good job of just really diminishing the Roman forces. Rome's been kind of just trying to take on our small forces and a small garrison force inside of the city by himself, and he's kind of paying the price for it. He's taking a lot of damage. Now he has to fight against pikemen without archer support. So it definitely is a little bit of a yikes. But look over here. My ally seen a fantastic opportunity, nicely done by my ally, to be able to charge these Cretan archers and just fully taking out the Macedonian archers, breaking them so that way they can't utilize their ammo and take out my pikemen, and that's huge. Now my pikemen are kind of free to be able to do whatever they can, and try and do as much damage as they can to the enemy, without really taking too much in the way of archer fire, except of course from this tower. This tower does hurt a little bit, but that's okay. We did actually neutralize this tower so that way they can't keep firing on my thorax pikes. Yes, they do still have some Javi capabilities, but they're running low. Rome has a couple of Avocati cohort that probably have Javi capabilities, and then Macedon has one more thorax sword, but that's pretty much it. Almost all of the swords and everything that you see inside of the city right now have utilized their Javies. So my pikemen are gonna have a heyday just being able to take out the enemy forces. Here's what's left of my thorax swords and getting 109 kills, fighting against a couple of Avocati cohort. Very nice, very nice. Man, Rome is such a beautiful faction too. I mean, they may be my enemies, but I still got to admire their armor and their color scheme. Like, it's just absolutely amazing. Sabbat was actually initially trying to push back what troops he had left back into the gate, so that way he could help hold the streets here. But I was like, no. Just engage with the enemy outside. They're trying to retreat. Try to do whatever you can to make sure that they can't retreat. Keep distracting the enemy, because right now inside of the walls, you know, we're not doing bad inside of the walls. We still have a chance. So just keep doing as much damage as you can. Focus down as many units as you can. And he's going to do that. You know, the enemy left out units of militia hoplites. Rome made the mistake of leaving out units of Avocati cohort, trying to chase down my archers, which have no ammo. Do they have ammo? I just want to make sure. No. Okay, yeah, my archers that have no ammo. So we're able to kind of, like, you know, do as much damage to these enemies as we can. And also that balance of power was starting to go down a little bit, but it's back at where it was at the beginning, which is a beautiful sight. I still got my units of thorax pikemen. Just trying to do whatever I can in order to do damage to the enemy. I'm trying to push them in so that way they'll engage with this legionary cohort and make it more difficult for the enemies to be able to utilize any Javi capabilities that they have left, because I saw that this thorax sword was trying to use their Javis against my pikes. So I'm going to push up my pikes and just try to do as much damage as these legionary cohorts as I possibly can. And I still have my unit of Bactrian Royal Guard, which is a fantastic unit, especially at holding choke points. The enemy is scared of my pikes, which I would be too, so they're not going to charge in. They're just holding back. They're just waiting. They're trying to get all their units inside of the walls, or whatever units they still can inside of the walls. And my ally's doing whatever he can to stop that from happening. Just kind of harassing those units of Avocati cohort and just surrounding whatever units are left outside of the walls, so that way we can just try to do as much damage as we can. Again, Rome is going to go and try to charge into my pikes because he saw that my pikes weren't in formation. So I quickly put my pikes back down in formation so that way he can just charge into a non-formed pike, because that would be tragic. Because this is all we have left. This is it. This is all we have left defending the inner streets. 2 units of pikes, 1 general, and an extremely depleted unit of caravan guard. Our main focus is on the tons of cav and light units that we have outside of the walls. So that's kind of our only hope. Rome is making a really smart move here and just trying to use a couple of units of Avocati cohort to be able to push onto our flanks. So they're going to try and just put more pressure because we don't have the units. We don't have the units to be able to do damage against Rome. So right now he's doing the smart move and just kind of sitting back and relaxing and waiting for us to be getting flanked by his Avocati cohort. But yeah, my ally kind of seeing that we're kind of besieging our own settlement here. My ally, seeing that the enemy's kind of outside of position a little bit, is going to begin to charge in and just try to, again, do as much damage as he possibly can against the enemy forces. These thorax swords, these legionary cohorts, these Avocati cohort, whatever we can. And the enemy, seeing that we're starting to push in on the walls, did actually push over a unit of depleted thorax pikemen to be able to try and engage with my thorax pikes with the support of their thorax swords. So hopefully my pikes will be able to hold. Again, the thorax pikes are more depleted, so I'm hoping that my pikemen will be able to hold against this enemy unit. But we can't wait for too much longer, so my ally is going to go ahead and start moving in with his units. We really can't afford to continue to wait, so we're going to kind of besiege our own settlement. We have the enemy surrounded, so we're going to utilize that to the best of our ability and try and just take out as many units as possible. So my ally is going to go and start charging in his desert spears and his desert levy, and just try to do as much damage to the enemy forces as possible. And just keep putting pressure again. As long as we keep putting pressure on all sides, then we should be able to keep the enemy from fully pushing through our defenses here. But the enemy does still have 2 units of avocado cohort moving in, so we got to be very careful about that. I did see that they have a unit of I did see that the enemy was kind of thinning out over on this side during these, or around these 2 breach points. So I am going to try to push up my unit of Backtree and the Royal Guard and Pikemen in order to try and do whatever I can to break through these Legionary cohort and support my ally, hopefully push on the back of these Shield Bearers and these Thorax Swords, because we need to open up a breach point for my ally to be able to get through, because we're not going to be able to win this battle without his cavalry. So my ally is doing whatever he can using his cataphracts and everything else to be able to try and engage with the Roman general, to engage with the Macedonian infantry, just doing whatever he can to engage with the enemy and break through these lines so that way he can get into the city and you know, really start doing some damage with his cavalry against the flanks of the enemy. My ally, since the enemy sent over a couple units of avocado cohort onto our flanks, and there wasn't really too much that I could do about it, my ally did send over a decent chunk of cavalry to be able to try and get some flanking attacks on the enemy units. And I also am going to use my unit of mercenaries here and archers that are out of ammo to be able to stall this unit of avocado cohort, because I don't want them to be able to get to the victory point, which is right here. Because if they capture the victory point, then us holding these streets are almost all for naught. And we won't be able to keep holding these streets. We'll have to fall back and try to get them out of our victory point. We really don't have the forces for that. The enemy is doing a fantastic job of really holding us back. Our only chance is just trying to be able to break through these shield bearers and this unit of thorax swords. That's the only way we're going to be able to kind of save as much cavalry as possible and just push through these breaches. So I'm just doing whatever I can with my general and with my unit of thorax pikes to just do as much damage as I possibly can. And just try to open up one hole, giggity, for the enemy to be able to kind of, or for my allies to be able to push in and get in or start attacking the flanks of these enemy units. My ally is doing a fantastic job against these avocado cohort. I got my unit of mercenaries here and archers kind of distracting them here. And my ally is using his Marib Camel Cataphracts as general unit, as well as some armored camel spears to be able to get some great flanking charges against these avocado cohort. If we can break these guys, then that would be fantastic, because we got to try to kill as many units as possible. Without those unit kills, then we're not going to be able to win this. My pikemen's still holding. They've got that unit of pikemen, a unit of 20 guys left, and that now depleted unit of thorax swords, just doing whatever they can to be able to push through my pike unit. My pike unit's really just giving it his all and just trying to keep the enemy from pushing through. But the enemy does notice that we are thinning out and that we are starting to break, so he's going to send up a almost healthy unit of thorax swords to be able to push through my pikes on this flank. Oh, look at that. Pike versus pike. It's just beautiful. And, okay, we've got this unit of shield bearers completely surrounded. We've had this unit of shield bearers completely surrounded for so long, and he just will not die. I got units on the flank. Of course, Rome sent over a couple units to try and support him, but we've got units on the flank, units on the front, units on the side, and they just refuse to break. I also still had a unit of mercenary Syrian archers that were out of ammo outside of the city, so I'm using them to try to distract these thorax swordsmen while we're trying to take out these shield bearers. But yeah, shield bearers, 48 men left, 64 kills. We have been completely surrounded, and they just would not die. My thorax pikes just kind of got left in there, so I'm just going to kind of leave them in there and just try to get as many kills on these stupid shield bearers as I possibly can. But we're just cycle charging over and over and over again, and they just would not die. They're starting to break now, but Macedon did a fantastic move of just flanking my unit of thorax pikes with his companion cavalry. And I'm just trying to quickly turn my thorax pikemen around to do as much damage as possible, but that flank was just fantastic. He's able to kind of start breaking my thorax pike, so they're not going to be able to be too much longer for this world. But they did come back, and those unit of shield bearers still just will not break. A unit of 35, they're just like, nope, we're not breaking, we would rather die than not hold these walls, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to keep holding the walls and making it so that way we can't get our troops back in here. I did bring my pikes back and reform, so that way hopefully I could get some pokey sticks of justice onto the backs of these shield bearers and just do as much damage as possible. And so we're slowly but surely being able to kind of chip away at these shield bearers, but again, they just would not die, and there's nothing I can do now. I've got a unit of thorax pike. They're extremely depleted, and the enemy's going to try and get some flanks on him with his units. My ally's doing whatever he can with his cavalry to try and make sure that the enemy can't break through and can't flank on my pikes, because we really need these pikes to be able to try and break these stupid shield bearers that just, again, will not break. But Rome saw that I did have a unit of pikes back here, and he's going to go ahead and charge through this gap and just flank around my thorax pikemen, and that's going to be the end of them. Those 2 units of Evocati cohort, they did get taken out because my ally's just fantastic cavalry play. My ally's now just using his cavalry to try to do whatever he can to help my thorax pikemen. And just to try to do as much damage to these enemy units as possible while they're still in this type of choke point. But yeah, we're breaking heavily here with our Desert Spearmen and the rest of our units. And at this point in the time in this game, all I have is this unit of thorax pikes left. My general's dead, all my pikes are dead, my swords are dead, etc., etc. All I have is a unit of thorax pikes with almost 200 kills, doing whatever they can to be able to hold this street. My ally doing whatever he can to just support me and get those flanking charges. But these thorax swords are a good unit, and they're able to really get some good damage against my units. So my thorax pikemen are going to break. Please make it. Yes, they made it to 200 kills. Let's go. All right, at least they were able to make it to 200 kills before they finally broke. But yeah, my ally just cycle charging over and over and over again, just trying to do whatever he can to be able to kill as many enemy units as he possibly can. And try to save he's still got a unit of cataphracts, 28. Cataphracts are cataphracts. They can still do a lot of damage, so he's trying to save that unit too. If he can break this unit of thorax swords, then he'll be able to save that unit of cataphracts and his unit of archers or horse archers. And still, these cycle chargers are just doing a really good job of being able to do damage to these thorax swords. But yeah, they still have 2 units of depleted thorax swords, a unit of Evocati cohort, a militia hoplite, a thorax sword, and then that stupid unit of shield bearers. 24 guys left with 124 kills. Wow. My ally is successfully able to break a unit of 15 thorax swords. And free up the rest of his cavalry. So he's going to fall back, and he's going to try to bring the enemy out to a more open space, so that way he can do as much damage as possible. So he's going to fall back to this victory point and just try to do as much damage as possible. The balance of power is in favor of our enemies, just because they do have infantry, they have some nice spears, and they most likely still have a little bit of javelin capabilities left. But the fight's not over yet. We've still got the mighty Sabian, I think? Sabian? The mighty Cav of Saba. There we go. We've still got a nice unit of 58 cataphracts, the general unit. A unit of 47 camel spears. Another unit of 9 cataphracts. A unit of 10 camel spears. We still have cavalry. And if the enemies want to win, then they're going to have to come to this open space and engage with their cavalry. There's no other way. So we're going to just kind of sit back here and wait for the enemy to engage. But I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here a little bit because it is a little bit slow. The enemy is trying to reform and just kind of try to figure out what they're going to do against all of this cavalry. Again, they do have the advantage, so they still have that going for them. But they really don't want to engage with their cavalry in this open space if they don't have to. But we do have the time on our side, so we don't have to engage with them. They have to come to this open space. They have to try and capture this victory point or kill us in order to win the game. So we're just going to sit back, relax, and just wait for them to be able to get in here, because this is where we're at our best. This is where we're going to get our most advantageous victories. So we're just going to kind of sit back here and wait for them to come. So Macedon is going to go ahead and take the bait and start to move a couple of units. So this is, I don't really know why they just sent it over in piecemeal. But Macedon sending over a couple units of Thorax Swordsmen first, his kind of healthier units, leaving his unit of Militia Hoplites and Shield Bearers behind. Rome still having an Evocati cohort of 39, but we see my ally sees that they just sent over 2 units without any type of support, so he's going to go in. He's going to go in and charge against these Thorax Swords and just try to do as much damage as possible, get those Cataphracts in, and really, really just tear up those units. Oh! Oh, that's gotta hurt. Oof. Yeah, that Thorax Sword just took a heavy beating. Wow. But yeah, we're my ally here doing a very, very good job of just doing damage to these individual units, doing whatever he can to be able to try and break these individual units before our enemies try and move the last 2 units inside of their armies over. That Evocati cohort getting almost 400 kills. That's just how powerful the Roman army is. Evocati cohort is very good for its price. It's pretty much as Thorax Swords, and has like, what, 20 more armor than Thorax Swordsmen. They're just a very, very powerful unit. So they have a lot of kills, and there's still 39 of them. They can still get a decent amount of kills with that amount of units, especially if he freshens them up right now, because right now they're winded, but they're you know, they're breathing. They're taking a nice little breather. They're taking a nice little break, so they'll be able to kind of, you know, recuperate and come back full strength too. But yeah, my ally right now just doing cycle charges after cycle charges after cycle charges. The enemy did show his flank to those Royal Camel Archers and the small unit of Cataphracts, getting almost 300 kills, which is absolutely insane. So he is going to charge into that unit of Thorax Swords and just try to do as much damage as possible. A Thorax Sword is starting to break, dropping quickly. Both units of Thorax Swords are dropping very, very quickly, beginning to break. One with 92 kills, one with 124 kills. And then, of course, he still has that unit of 15 Shield Bearers to just refuse to break. Breaking those 2 units of Thorax Swords, my ally is going to pull back his cavalry before the enemy can successfully engage with them in melee with 2 more fresh units of troops. And the enemies are going to go and send over their unit of Militia Hoplites and their unit of Evocati cohort, as well as that unit of 15 Shield Bearers left with 130 kills. I still have no idea how that Shield Bearer unit did not die. But yeah, they're just going to kind of sit back, relax. But as you guys can see from the balance of power, there's almost no way that they're going to be able to win this. Their units are depleted. They're tired. They have 3 units left, only one of them being at half strength. One of them being a militia unit. The one that's at half strength being a militia unit, fighting against heavy Cataphracts. So yeah, they're not going to be able to win this. My ally is going to go ahead and set up for the killing blow. He wants to be able to do as much damage as possible just to guarantee that victory. Our enemies are going to go ahead and stack up as thick as possible to be able to try and get the most bang for their buck and make it as difficult as possible for my allies' cavalry to be able to do any sort of damage. My ally was able to actually retreat a unit of Desert Spears through the gate and then kind of push them back over this way. So we do actually have a unit of infantry. But yeah, so Rome is going to move up his unit of Evocati cohort to try and capture the point and try to get victory by capturing the point. And they're going to try to move up their unit of Militia Hoplites, but it's not going to be enough. As you guys can see over in the horizon, we have Cav about to charge in. It's crazy. Oh, I feel so bad for these troops. They're just about to get absolutely charged. And they're going to set up a triangle formation and really just kind of face their death in the most glorious way possible. But this is the end of the Macedonian Roman Empire alliance. He's going to get a nice, like, slightly flanking charge here on the Evocati cohort and just absolutely melt that Evocati cohort. These militiamen are going to get just charged by these Royal Camel Archers, knocked over, just destroyed and surrounded. They're depleted. They're not going to be able to do anything, and that's it. That is the killing blow for this battle. A very, very close one. I have no idea how we were able to win that. That was absolutely insane. A very, very fun battle. Again, it was a while since I've recorded this, but GG's to my enemies, GG to my ally. That was a very fun battle, very different, and a very interesting sally out and some interesting flanking play and everything else. But let's go ahead and end the replay. Let's look at the kills here. So we're looking at me. So my ally, marketable skills. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a live streamer on Twitch. He's a sexy ass motherfucker and a great, fantastic entertainer, so make sure you guys check him out as well. Total War Boy, I don't know what happened to him, but we used to play games with him a lot and he just kind of disappeared. And then Beans is a viewer of my Twitch channel. If you guys didn't know, I do stream on Twitch. That's where you'll primarily find most of my content. So make sure to check out my Twitch channel, which is down in the panels below. But yeah, overall a fantastic battle. Again, my whole job was just to be able to hold inside of the city for as long as possible. Again, I did try to do that slight sally out, which in a sense did work. We were able to kind of, focus down about 3 or 4 units of Roman infantry, so that was great. But yeah, my goal was just to hold inside of the city, and that's what I did. Still getting some decent kills with my citizen cavalry against the enemy archers. Marketable doing a fantastic job with his cavalry, especially coming in clutch at the end. 158 kills, 114, 258, 119, 120, 279, 200, and even managing to get some kills with his Desert Levy and Desert Spearman. Beans doing well for having been surrounded. At this time, Beans is definitely not a newer player now. He's definitely learned a lot, but at this time he was a brand new player, so cut him a little bit of slack here. But getting 130 kills with his shield bearers, 125 kills with his thorax swords, and then with Rome, of course, Rome being Rome, getting a decent amount of kills, 388, 143, 234, 173, 151, 107. Very, very good battle. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to play another battle like that again soon, or something even better, something different. That would be amazing. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna go and skedaddle out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you guys liked it and you want to see more of it, again, please be sure to check out my Twitch channel down in the located down in the description below. I'm always on there on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays unless something comes up. So make sure you guys come and check me out at noon Mountain Time during those days. As well as I do have a Discord channel. Make sure you guys check that out, which will also be located down in the description below. I'm always on there trying to talk to you guys, hang out with you guys, see what you guys might want to see within the stream or the YouTube channel, etc., etc. So please, please, please be sure to join that as well. But yeah, again, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit that sub button. I would highly appreciate that as well. Just lets me know that my content isn't complete shite, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Again soon? Soon again, something like that. But peace, guys. I love you. Much love.